After 6:30 now, Elizabeth, if you'd like to make the introductions, we'll see about starting our program.
Okay, well, I don't know her other credentials, but for me, Sylvia was the president when I first became a TMN, and she was such an inspiration to us all, helping get through those formative times. She is what I like to call a dual citizen. She's both a master naturalist and a master gardener, and she's really a master at both for real. We all know and love her photographs with a jackhammer, uh, drilling a hole in a giant boulder for a fountain at the Fanny Cook Center. All of us have had adventures with her, and I'm very glad and pleased that she was willing to talk tonight, even if it is on Zoom. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Um, I'm glad to see all of you here. I hope that no one is disappointed in what I have to present. And a lot of it's a little different, and some of it, at the very least, will be thought provoking that you can think about later and maybe agree or disagree, but it'll definitely be something to think about. Um, I really appreciate Joseph helping me get set up so that supposedly I know what I'm doing, but honestly, Joseph, I still don't know what I'm doing. Um, so I'm thinking if I'm looking at the screen, I need to hit the button that says share. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Are we ready to do that?
We're ready when you are.
Okay, I'm going to show you this one. Okay, this is the PowerPoint. And I'm going to say share. And I'm going to tell it I want to uh, start the slideshow from the beginning. There. Does everybody see that now, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Good. All right. I think Elizabeth did a pretty good job of telling everybody something about me. I've been in the Valley now for about 15 years. So I almost consider myself a Valley person. I've learned a lot about plants and a lot about this area and the climate and the environment here since I moved here. I think all of us can agree that um, water here is very important because we can't just drill a well in our backyard and get plenty of good water for our plants. We all rely on the river for water. And of course, water is essential to all life on Earth. And when we have a shortage of this, then it's definitely going to affect the environment negatively on all forms of life. This slide shows a picture of the Earth and the water that we have on it. If we were to take all of the water on the surface, it's really just a thin film, and it would be about the size of that largest ball that's there in the upper right. That's the Earth is about almost 8,000 miles in diameter, and that little sphere represents all of the water on the Earth. And its diameter is 860 miles. So that's a long way from the diameter of the Earth. That's about the same amount as the distance from here to the border in the panhandle of Texas. That's a little over 800 miles. So it's really quite smaller than the Earth. This sphere has a volume of 332 million miles, cubic miles. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but in comparison to the Earth, it's minuscule. And this sphere includes all of the water in the oceans, in the ice caps, in the lakes, in the rivers, the groundwater, atmospheric water, and even the water in you and in my little dog Chiquita and in your tomato plant. It's all the water. That little blue sphere that's over Kentucky, by the way, represents the fresh water. That larger one is primarily salt water, and it's not usable for our plants or for us to drink. But that smaller sphere is all of the groundwater, all of the lake water, the swamp water, and the rivers. Everything that's actually fresh, we label fresh water. And of this, about 99% of it is what we call groundwater. That is, that's water below the surface. So, and a lot of that actually lies not just below the surface, but below the ocean. So that part of it isn't even accessible to us, or at least not presently. So, and then you may not be able to see it on your screen, but there is another even smaller dot over Atlanta, Georgia. And that little tiny, tiny dot represents the fresh water in all the lakes and rivers on the planet. So most of the water that people on the earth and life on the earth need every day comes from these surface water sources, lakes and rivers. The volume of this sphere is a little over 22,000 cubic miles. And the diameter is only 35 miles. So it's really tiny in comparison to the size of this Earth. So basically, when we're looking at that picture, 97% of all the water on the Earth is salt water. 3% is fresh water, of which 69% is currently tied up in glaciers. 30% is groundwater under the surface, so only 1% of it is surface water. So the question is, do we have enough? Do we have enough water? Now we can think about what we're looking at now is a drought. Well, maybe, maybe not. What is a drought? You consider it a period when you get drier than normal conditions, but of course, lately we've had rain here in the valley. So yes, maybe we're not in one of those meteorological droughts, but do we have enough water coming from where we receive our water? As you know, all of the water we get for agriculture and for drinking water comes from the river. So we're currently in what we would call a hydrological drought. That's because the drought has become evident in the water system. The majority of the flow of the Rio Grande is based on water out of Mexico. And unfortunately, that Mexico, a lot of Mexico has been in a 20-year drought. So they really don't have water either. It's causing drought for the crops. It's causing an socioeconomic drought where we're having problems with commodities that we want to get that are affected by the drought. And it's causing ecological drought. Whole systems are drying up and causing problems with the native flora, fauna, and animal life that are living there. You know, droughts are kind of known as a creeping phenomena. You don't really notice it until it's really bad. So it's something that we really have to that we have to be concerned about. If I can get to my. Look at the impacts of drought wherever they are. This picture here is of the dam at Lake Mead. And you've probably seen a lot of information about Lake Mead, which at one time during the late 30s, 1930s, it was at 1,200 feet above sea level, the elevation of the water. And it is currently at 1,054 feet above sea level. So it has really, really gone down. As a matter of fact, they're saying that if it drops another 50 feet, that they won't even be able to produce enough water to run the power there at the dam. It won't flow through at all. So it's
Well, somebody did.
And these symptoms aren't even half of it. Stressed, tons of stuff happens inside your body. Stress activates your fight or flight response, where your body prepares to.
It looks like we're having momentarily some difficulties here. I know mine went all the way out and then came back.
Mine did too. Our host is our host here?
Yeah.
I'm back.
I'm
Mine
here too.
shorted out twice. I'm not really sure what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must have been something with WebEx because we all got it. Sylvia doesn't
Yeah,
look
it
like
looks
she's
like
back yet.
everybody's. I see her name on here, or I did a minute ago.
Anybody
Yeah,
got her
that
number so we can tell her? She may not realize she's not on.
I have her number. I can call her.
It may have been with all the heat that people are using, it may have been a glitch in the electrical in a certain area of the town or something too. My computer stayed on, but okay. So what else do we want to talk about while we're trying to get our speaker back online? um,
This is Wendy, by the way,
I
and
can
I
make
know
a
that
couple
there's
of
been internet
announcements.
outages. Just,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Donna. This
No,
is
that's
Wendy.
fine. Thank you for speaking up.
Regionally, there's been some internet outages, like from over South Padre Island, and had some earlier today here in Mission. So it may be affecting different places.
I couldn't get through to Sylvia, but I've texted her. I don't know if it will go through either.
So far, it was really interesting. I was sitting on the edge of my seat with my kitty cat.
Yes.
Yeah, my service here has been going in and out also. I thought it was because I had not paid my bill, but
Oh,
Okay,
looks
this
like
is
Sylvia may be
her.
connected again.
I have Sylvia on the phone.
Okay.
Are you connected again, Sylvia?
Yes, I see her here now. Well, for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, she's up towards the top now.
She's having trouble unmuting herself, Joseph.
Let me see. Okay, I sent a unmute request. Maybe if she clicks at it, it'll do it.
Did you get a request, Sylvia? To unmute? Yeah, click on it.
Okay, it looks like she's on now.
There.
Okay, yes,
All right.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
So you,
I apologize. I mean, like I told you guys, this is,
oh, that wasn't you. That was, we all got knocked off.
oh, okay, okay.
Uh,
Now let's
So
see.
see, you're right there with us.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Start,
so far,
start,
it's really great. We can't wait for more.
start
well,
from the top.
on the current slide. Okay, now here we were.
okay, you got to turn your camera back on and start sharing
Oh,
again.
my camera. Okay, let's see if I can do that. Wait a minute. That means I have to escape this and get over here and turn my video back on
And then hit share again.
right there and hit share again. Share. PowerPoint. Share. Okay.
There you go. That's looking good.
And,
Thank you for hanging in here with us. That, like I say, that was not your fault.
well, I don't know. Okay. And as you can see, it upset Miss Whiny. She's beginning to whine now, so hopefully she won't get any louder. That's my Chihuahua, in case there are any of you that miss me telling everybody. She's in my lap and she's not real happy right now. Okay, now environmental impacts of a drought are many. As you know, we have a lot of wetlands around here in this area that are birding centers in wetlands. They sustain such a diverse range of flora and fauna. And since I don't see me here, does that mean you don't see me either?
Yeah, we're not seeing you, but we can see your slides. So,
Okay, so you don't care?
I mean, we'd love to see you, but if you want to just keep going, let's just keep going.
Okay, we'll just keep going. All right. That's good, because now you can't see me looking down at my notes. And so this water scarcity in a wetlands is going to cause a lot of the life forms to be unable to continue to exist. Yes, maybe some of them can continue, but some of them won't be able to. So it's a real impact to some of these creatures that live in the wetlands. And then, of course, when something like that begins to dry up, then it begins to pollute surrounding water. If all you have is a little mud puddle and you've got water running into it from an area where it shouldn't be, then you're going to get pollutants. And any of that that's just residual surface water, if you don't have any precipitation to wash it away, and you losing water from streams and rivers, then it becomes even more polluted. And then this leads to overall plant health issues, because they become much more vulnerable to pest-borne illnesses and problems due to not being hydrated. And then after that, well, if it gets worse, and we might actually see death storms, and they won't be from Africa this time. So, it's not something that looks good. And the truth is, what I saw on the news lately is that if we don't get water in the watershed, that by March, we're not going to have any water coming to us from the river. So, as a matter of fact, the mayor of McAllen was hoping for a hurricane, but that didn't happen. So now we're really concerned and hoping that we get water into the Mexican portion of this watershed, since it's the largest portion of the watershed. And then, of course, there's a problem with lack of biodiversity. What we're looking at here is if animals have to leave because this area has nothing for them, then not only are we missing those animals that leave, but they may not be able to adapt to a new environment. So it's really an issue for everything. Of course, there's an increase in wildfires, and we've seen a lot of that in the drier areas. You have a wet year and you get all of that brush, and then you have a dry year and you wind up with nothing but dry stems and one little spark from someone carelessly throwing out a cigarette, or perhaps parking their car on the dry grass and getting the heat from the one of their parts of their car starts a fire. Actually, when I lived in the hill country during the drought about 20 years ago, we had one fire that was started by a broken beer bottle that was thrown out, and the sun just hit it just right, and it started the fire. So all of these things are really causing a lot of impact. Even to the end here, I've got increased desertification. That is, the deserts are getting bigger, and they're this is not only just due because of drought, but because once you start, then you don't have enough land that's productive to for the animals to graze on. So now we got overgrazing, and then other human activities. People are gathering things that are pretty soon non-existent, and it makes things even worse. So you have an impact then on your agriculture, the economic impact, because now you can no longer grow the crops that you were growing, perhaps not the quantity, or maybe even not the variety that you were growing before. And energy production, no matter what type of energy you're using, it does require water, usually for cooling, for these machines that actually produce it at a power plant. And hey, anybody want to go boating on Lake Mead right now? It's really down. You might be able to find a body or two. I mean, it really affects recreation and tourism as well. And even here in the valley, when there's not enough rain to have all of the butterflies that we have come through and the birds, then the tourism drops off and it affects everybody's pocketbook. Okay, let me look at the next slide here. This is water in the Rio Grande Valley. That picture is a Falcon Dam taken in August of this year. And I was there the first part of October, and you could see the bottom of that dam on the inside of the lake. It was really, really low. And you may or may not have seen some of the news a few weeks back about them actually dredging out some of the areas where they could continue to pump for some of those surrounding neighboring communities that pump directly out of that lake. They were just pumping up mud. They had to dredge out an area in order to be able to pump some water. So it is really, really low, and it supports 6 million people. The river does, and irrigates 2 million acres of land. Now, here in the valley, and I may have it on a different slide. 70% of the fresh water is used in agriculture. So a lot of that water that we're not getting here in the valley is going to cause a lot of problems for the farmers and the people who have the orange groves and the winter crops. It's going to make a lot of difference. Currently, Hidalgo County gets over 160,000 acre feet per year. And in the future, they're looking at a lot more. We're going to have a 680,000 acre foot per year deficit in that many years. Now that acre feet, that's an acre and air of area a foot deep. So that's a lot of area. 160,000 acres is a lot of area, a foot deep of water. So it's a huge requirement, and that's just Hidalgo County. Uh-oh, need to keep my fingers off of that. Sorry. That's just Hidalgo County. So the question is, what can we do? Now, there are a lot who will say, okay, it just comes and goes. It's not a big deal. This will pass. Everything's going to be all right. Don't worry. But the thing is, if they're right, that's okay. But if they're wrong and we do nothing, that can be a real problem. So becoming conservation minded is certainly not going to make things worse if we get rain. But if we don't become conservation minded and don't get any rain, we can really be in trouble. And a lot of people want to say, well, I don't think that climate change has anything to do with it. It's just a 10-year cycle, and we'll get through this, and we're almost through it, and everything's going to be okay. But we know that at this point, just right now, that when we have warmer temperatures, the water evaporates more quickly. So moisture that's coming down as rain rather than snow is more runoff and less getting into the soil. And we have 2 billion people in the Northern Hemisphere that depend on these snowpacks, the reservoirs that store the water during the cooler months and then release it in the summer. But if it releases earlier and too quickly, then you get a lot of runoff and floods rather than the desired result of a little bit over a longer period, which leads to more drought problems. So, while the intricacies of the climate change drought connection are still being uncovered, scientists do tend to agree on one thing. Droughts will likely become more intense into the 2050s and beyond. And the likelihood of mega droughts, that is droughts lasting 10 years or more, is also projected to increase from its current 12% to more than 60%. And this is from a NASA study that was done. So whether we want to agree with the probability that global warming is an issue or not, it's still something that we're going to have to contend with. As a matter of fact, this week of cold weather that we are seeing, one of the meteorologists on the television the other day was showing a map that had Alaska in the picture, and right now Alaska is having warmer than seasonal temperatures, and it pushed this big ridge of cold weather south. So for them being warmer, now we're being colder. It's kind of like global weirding and weather-wise. So the thing is, at this point, all these things that we're looking at, we need to heed the warning. Here are some ways that I came up with off the internet that we can save water. I'm glad you can't see me. I threw my dog off. Okay, you know, a seemingly small leak, like your drippy faucet that drips once every second, can waste 2,700 gallons of water a year, according to the American Red Cross. So it's something that we really need to take a look at. I mean, even when it's using your garden hose, if you're out there and you're going to wash your car or something of that nature, rather than leaving the hose running, put a nozzle on it and so you can turn the water off between what you're doing and your next rinse. Or even if you're watering in a flower bed, when you walk from one to the next, you can use the handle to turn the water off. Take shorter showers. I mean, for some of us, that may not be something that's possible, especially when it's this cool. It takes me about 2 minutes. So, but if you're a person who likes those long, hot showers, maybe it's time to reconsider. And also getting efficient toilets, the ones that don't use as much water, is another good way. And don't wash your dishes or even your clothes until you have a full load. And here are a few more ways to save water. When you're going to clean that driveway, and I think this is something that a lot of people in the valley do, is they spray off their driveway. My neighbor down the street, that's what she was raised doing, and so she sprays her driveway off. And I told her, I said, you know, you're using a lot of water. That was when we were under one of those don't use your water things here a few months back. Use a broom, not a hose. And those aerators to put in your sink faucets make it feel like you've got a lot more water coming out when you don't. So they're really a good idea. The Energy Star washing machines and dishwashers are great for conserving water. And remember that because water is used to generate hydroelectric power, we want to limit the time of day that we use those type of things and not use them during the peak hours of 4 to 9. So another thing that we can do is use plants that require less water. Hey, how novel, right? We want to mulch around the plants to hold water in the soil, and water the plants and the lawn, if you have one, early in the day to reduce evaporation. Install gutters to harvest rainwater. And speaking of harvesting rainwater, did you realize that it only takes a little more than half a gallon per square foot? It will give you more than half a gallon per square foot of roof with just 1 inch of rainfall. So right now, the average for McAllen is 22 inches a year. So if you got a 2,000 square foot roof and you get 1 inch of rainfall, that's 1,200 gallons, and times 22 inches of rainfall a year, that's 26,400 gallons a year that you could save in rain barrels. And if you'll notice these that I have in the picture, number one, you can gang them together, as you can see in that illustration on the left, and you can either put them together at the bottom, which will fill all of the barrels at the same rate, or if you're only like have 2 of them, if you put the secondary one just a little bit lower than the primary one, let the primary one fill first and its overflow run into the second one, then you're assured of always having a full barrel. And remember, you don't have to put them under your rain gutter. You can have that rain gutter run water underground in a pipe all the way out to some other location, like along the back fence, as you can see in the right picture there. Of course, the only thing you have to remember is where the water runs into the rain barrel will have to be lower than the gutter itself. So it's a great way to save water. Water can be saved by adding compost to your soil. Maybe we don't think about that, but compost increases the soil capacity to hold water and nutrients. But by adding compost, you're giving the soil that ability to conserve water for the plants itself. The picture there is of the herb garden out at the Master Gardener garden. And we use compost when we build a new garden. We put compost in. And when we create a new little area, we're always adding compost. If it's an in-ground location, we try to initially mix 50% compost with 50% topsoil to create a nice friable soil that will hold more water. And each year, if you will mix a few inches of more in your soil in the spring and the fall, it'll give those plants that healthy boost they need in the spring. And in the fall, it'll help condition the new soil. But if you're mixing it into a new area, you want to try to mix a couple of inches of that compost into the top 8 inches of existing soil. And then, of course, even using mulch is going to help. It is going to help reduce the drought. This picture in the middle is of a yard where they have used various types of mulch. You can see there's some rocked areas and there are some organic mulch areas and even a few raised beds. So it's a pretty generic picture of things that you can do, because mulches can be organic. You can use pine bark, a compost or wood chips, compost and wood chips, or things like lava rock or limestone or anything except sheet plastic. You don't want to cover your ground with something that will not allow the water to permeate into the soil. Mulch is going to actually keep the soil moderated. In the winter, it's going to keep it a little warmer. In the summer, it'll keep it a little cooler because it covers that soil with a good amount of insulation, so to speak. And it also prevents the soil from becoming compacted. It will make it so much better for your plants. Of course, there are pros and cons to using different types of mulch. I have shown here on the screen organic and rock mulch. If you use organic mulch, you're going to have to replace it periodically. And you don't want to let it build up to more than about 3 inches, because if you get that mulch too deep, then it begins to actually heat up underneath and it'll stress the plants. So it's not one of those everlasting things. And of course, mulch is not really the greatest if you have a windy area or an area that floods. And rock, on the other hand, if you like the rock mulch, yes, it needs very little maintenance, and it is fireproof. If you live in an area that's adjacent to a field or a place that has a natural area of native plants, being fireproof around your house might be to your advantage. And it is wind resistant. You're not going to have to worry about it blowing away. And it will also help with the weed reduction, much the same as the organic does. But it can become too hot. If you have a rock area around your house, and I did when I first moved here, in the summertime, it would be so hot I could not walk on it with my bare feet. It was just too hot. And that could definitely stress your plants. What about artificial turf, you say? You know, I think a lot of people in my neighborhood are putting in artificial turf. I mean, it has some good qualities and it has some bad qualities. I mean, it always looks like you just mowed it. It's so perfect looking. You never have to trim around the edges. It's just never crops over onto the sidewalk. It's how could you ask for more, right? You don't have to water it. Well, it does have a darker side. And of course, if you go on the internet and you look at the .com websites, they're not going to tell you about the dark side. They only want to tell you what will help them sell the product. So you want to actually think about these things before you buy and put down the artificial turf. You may even after that consider that it's a better option for you, but at least look at some of the problems that you might be causing. Number one, it does absorb more radiation. The back of that product is black. So it's going to really, it's like putting down an asphalt roof on the ground. Yes, the front side green and looks pretty, but it's soaking in the sun. And it doesn't sequester CO2. That is, it's not going to exchange CO2 for oxygen like the trees and the plants do. So considering that it's made of rubber and plastic, it's going to give us some plastic pollution into the soil and could damage even ecosystems that are living in the ground. So just some things for thought there if you make a decision on what you're going to put. Here's a little look at using drip irrigation. It's another great way to save water in the yard. And since 70% of our water goes to agriculture, that's one of the most important places to save water. This picture on the left is in my yard. I decided to put in a flower bed along the front, and I have put in drip irrigation there. Now that's a work in progress. This picture I don't have the bark mulch in yet, so you're able to see the drip lines, and it works really good because I can run that drip every other day for 30 minutes, and the plants love it. You would think. And that's the emitters are 12 inches apart and put out, I think it's half a gallon an hour, or no, it's a gallon an hour because they put out half a gallon, 12 inches apart. So it's really not a lot of water, but every bit of it goes into the soil. None of it escapes into the atmosphere. It's an excellent thing to do. And if I can do it, you can do it. This was not a professional done job. It was something that I did myself. The picture on the right shows how you can hook it up to your faucet and still retain one area to have your own actual water hose to do other things with, and still dedicate one part to your drip line and put a timer. That one's a very simple one there. The one I have is a little more elaborate so that I can turn it to every other day and not worry about it. So it definitely has some good advantages in that it the water never gets on the leaves, so you don't have to worry about it causing favorable conditions for plant diseases because you don't wet the leaves with it. Okay, now that we've looked at all of those things we can do, what about going native? That's what you knew this presentation was about anyway, right? Well, guess what it is? That's what it's about. We're going to save water going native. Did you know that you could reduce the water's outdoor water demand by 50 to 70% by putting in drought tolerant plants? And in our case, what we're talking about tonight is native plants. So all of these plants provide food sources of seeds, nuts, nectar, and fruits for birds, bats, pollinating insects, and butterflies. And they attract insects for the birds. So there are a lot of them that we can use here in the valley that require absolutely very little care. They're adapted to the climate. They don't need any fertilizer or very little. They don't need any irrigation or not much, and no pest control management. And they're wonderful plants. What is a native? Well, I think all of us know the answer to that. We're all TMN people. And we can look at the picture there. It's indigenous to the area under consideration. That means it was here before we were. And it doesn't require people to help it survive. And it hadn't come in from another area. What's in the lower part there is salt cedar, which was introduced into the US in the early 1800s. And once it escaped, then it just has really become a serious problem. And unfortunately, it is spread through most of the watersheds in the Southwest US. The upper picture there, of course, the upper picture is of a coral bean, which is a native tree, much better choice than having something that's invasive. A lot of people like some of those plants because they think they're pretty. Not necessarily the salt cedar, but the one in question that I'm thinking of is that pepper tree, Brazilian pepper tree. I've seen that in a lot of yards. And in some cases, even when I tell the homeowner, you know, this is an invasive tree, they don't want to remove it because they think it's pretty. So those kind of plants, given a chance, will ruin our native environment. I have a few books that I have here that I'm going to show you. Let's see, the first one on the list there is How to Grow Native Plants. And this is the way it looks. I got it online. The inside, you really need to know the name of your plant because you're not going to find a good picture. It has some artist renditions, but those don't go a long way, at least not in my book. So it's great because if you know where there's a plant that you want to grow, but you can't find it in the nurseries, and you can get permission to either collect seeds or a cutting, this is the book for you because it has everything about how to get a plant to grow, how to get a native plant to grow. The next one is native Texas plants, landscaping region by region. Now this one has a lot of nice photographs in it, and also it has some design helps for laying out a garden area. So it's another really good book. The third one on the list is Trees, Shrubs, and Cactus of South Texas. This one I really like for the photographs that are in it. These are really good photographs. I've been able to find a lot of things and identify them using this book. And then, of course, there's the internet. Those two pages, I checked those links and they are good links. I know that the TAMU website, the Aggie website, had undergone some changes lately, and a lot of the things that we had links of before were not going where they thought they were going to now, but these two are good links. There are a few things you're going to need to do if you want native plants. Number one is, they're going to have good drainage. So the thing is, the valley is flat, right? Everybody knows that. There's only a 90-foot drop between here and the Gulf Coast. So, and everybody's yard who lives in a urban area is even more flat. So getting good drainage is something that you might have to work at. The photo there shows how you can use a raised area and terraced areas up against your fence to create good drainage where you might not have it otherwise. And of course, natives are not always carefree. They may need a little trimming once in a while, but remember, do not overwater them. We have a tendency to love our plants to death. If you see it kind of wilty, you think, oh, it needs more water. So you water it more, and then you water it more because it looks even worse. And pretty soon, guess what? It dies. So watering of the natives, overwatering is not a good thing. I have a few choices here. There's native trees and native shrubs and perennials and annuals. And unfortunately, we are not time permissive to go through all of those, but there's a couple of slides that I want to show you. Of course, everybody probably recognizes that. That's that ball cypress here in the valley, and it's a beautiful tree. But can you have it in your yard? Well, I don't know. I can't have it in mine, but I know one thing that the researchers have proven through their research of areas that are covered or not covered by trees is they took some ambient temperature and road surface temperatures throughout the day on sections of the road that had trees and in sections that didn't have trees. In one city at 2 p.m., the ambient air temperature was 94 on sections without trees as compared to 85 where there was shade. So, and then at 3 p.m., it was 124.7 under the sun compared to 90.5 under the shade. So that's quite a difference in temperature. And if you plant your trees close together in a patch, they can cool the temperatures from 9 to 18 degrees. Plus, trees produce most of the oxygen that humans and wildlife breathe. Most of the oxygen. So if there will almost be no rain without trees, since trees absorb the water from the soil and they release it through evapotranspiration. This water vapor released is the major mechanism by which the air is moistened. Most scientists agree that the least expensive and perhaps the easiest way for individuals to help offset the CO2 that they generate in their everyday lives is to plant a tree, any tree, as long as it's appropriate for the given region and climate. So that being said, native trees are the best way to go here. I want to show you a couple. If you move down here from the north and you want some color, try the Western soapberry. It's fast growing, high heat tolerant, and it doesn't need a lot of water. And look at that pretty fall color there. Then the shrub area, this one here in the picture is on my west wall of my screen porch. It's a white brush. I got it because I love the smell of those blooms. And it also, I was able to kind of pin it against the screen there. Otherwise, it would make a bush. but I have it leaned against my screen, and it not only shades part of the screen room there, but it shades my back door, so it keeps things a little cooler. And of course, it is a nectar plant for bees and butterflies. I also have the kidney wood in my yard. That is my little 8-foot windmill there. And I had this for about 8 years. And I just keep it kind of trimmed into the area where that structure is, so that it's not overwhelming, but it does have beautiful, fragrant flowers every time it rains. I love that plant. This one is one that a lot of people might like because the leaves have a kind of a minty flavor, and it does tolerate a lot of the drought. It's a very pretty plant. These bloom after a rain. This one I saw at the HEB the other day out front in their plant sale area, and it was labeled Valley Cherry. So I guess it's kind of like the dragon fruits when they imported it over to the Asian countries. Nobody wanted to buy it because it was called pitaya, and they changed the name to dragon fruit. So now we're going to change the name here from manzanita or Barbados cherry to valley cherry, so people will like it. But they should like it anyway because it's a wonderful native, and the fruit is edible, not only by animals but also by people. It has a high vitamin C content, even though it is quite sour. Let's look a little bit at some of the perennials and the annuals. I think a lot of people have seen the mist flowers. There's several different types of mist flowers. What's in the center there is the crucita. I have a crucita in my backyard that's about 8 foot tall, so they will get very large. But if you get different kinds of mist flowers, you can get them blooming in the spring, blooming in the summer, blooming in the fall. The crucita is a fall blooming plant. The Greg's mist flower, which is one of the really butterfly magnets, is a summer bloomer, and it's a low growing plant. So it's really a good one to have, and it is a Texas native. I would also like to show you this one because a lot of people have the Mexican petunia. And while it is a drought tolerant plant, it is not a Texas native. So you might want to think about it. Maybe you want it, maybe you don't. It is invasive because it's not a native. And it's best to keep it in a pot, or you will wind up with it covering your whole yard. The one that is native is the Runyon's Wild Petunia, which is the picture there in the center. And you may see that coming up in your yard periodically, but I find it to be a very pretty alternative to the much more invasive, not native. And also the lantanas. There are several varieties of lantanas, and they are really pretty, but most of them are not native. The only ones that are native are the orange one here that's shown at the top, that are native and in this area, and the white one there, which is the desert lantana. The pink one over there in the center, you can just see where the flowers are just starting, is the one that has pink and yellow flowers, and it is actually an invasive plant. I had one come up in my backyard, and I thought, oh, look, I had a lantana come up by itself. And then I discovered that it is the invasive one. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's obvious because I don't know anybody in this area that has this plant, and it came up here. So apparently a bird ate one of the seeds and decided to drop it at my house. And now I have to contend with this invasive plant. there are a lot of the host plants that are wonderful for our butterflies and birds and anything else that wants to chew on them. This is the Bethany mist flower. That's another one of the mist flowers. And let's see, the Bethany blooms spring to fall, but it really prefers sandy soil. So if you have an area that's sandy, this would be a good spot for you. Or this one, I've had this one come up a lot in areas that nothing else wants to grow. But I have to tell you, if you have one that comes up where you really didn't want it, it's difficult to move. But if it is where you didn't want it, might as well give it a try. Everyone has seen the Zyzotes milkweed, and if you plant one and the monarchs, caterpillars eat it right away, it may not come back, even though it is a perennial. But if you can get it through that first season without it being completely consumed, it will produce a tuber underground. And if you find one that has the tuber, it will live even if you transplant it to someplace else. There's a few native ground covers we have here. There's frog fruit and tube tongue. The frog fruit, there's several varieties of frog fruit, and they are actually, there's 200 species of frog fruit. But here in the valley, I think we have like 4 different ones, and they stay pretty short. And you can even put that into a raised bed and let it stream down over the side. It's really quite pretty when you allow it to do that. The tube tongue is a little bit taller, but it makes a really good border plant. What about native grasses? See, I told you you're going to be surprised if you stay till the end. Have you ever thought about putting in native grasses to cover your yard rather than that water hog that we all have known as St. Augustine? This, the picture in the upper left is buffalo grass. Now there's, according to the Aggie website, we have several varieties of buffalo grass. And they include ones like Texoka, Prairie, 609, and Stampede. The Prairie is a really good one for soils that are high clay and high alkaline soils. And it, you know, it has a medium density with a slow growth rate. So it's not a bad looking lawn, especially when you consider that you're not going to have to mow it but once a month, if that. And now the other one of the other varieties, Stampede, is a semi-dwarf, which it only gets to about 4 inches. So you may consider never mowing that. And it has a more dense and a rapid rate of spread. So buffalo grass would be a really great alternative to water, to plants that use a lot more water. The one in the middle there is called curly mesquite. It's even more drought tolerant than the buffalo grass, but it doesn't spread quite as readily. It's a little more clumpy, but it doesn't look bad in that middle picture there, does it? And then down on the bottom, this one is called blue grama, and there's several varieties of that one. The one that I saw on the internet that they were actually offering plugs of is called Achita. So, and the plugs were about $1 a piece. So this spring, maybe you want to consider trying some native grass or maybe some native vines. Oh, I love native vines. I have in that area where I have the fiddlewood, I also have a passion vine. And it's so pretty when it comes up and blooms, those little purple blooms. And the butterflies love it. And it's not a takeover vine. A lot of the vines that you buy and put in have a tendency to take over. I have a blue sky vine that was given to me some years back. And every year I have to trim it to the ground because it completely covers my 10 by 14 storage building every year. So smaller vines sometimes can be appreciated a little more. The snapdragon vine is one that I really like because you can maintain that on a 2 by 4 trellis. It looks beautiful. And then, of course, there are native cactus. That one in the center there, that horse crippler, oh, everybody says, oh man, that's horrible. But look what a pretty flower it has. It's really not all that bad. And then there's the Mexican strawberry cactus, a beautiful cactus, and certainly doesn't use the water that a lot of other plants do. Even the prickly pear is good when you put it in an area where you would really like to have something like that. Or you can use the nopal and eat the pads. One of my neighbors introduced me to one of the ways that it was prepared. And if you like okra, you're going to like it. So I thought it was pretty good. I may have to put one in my yard so I can start eating it on a regular basis. And another neighbor brought a prickly pear back all the way from Oregon. Can you believe it? All the way from Oregon. But she bought it because the pads were purple, literally purple. Well, I looked it up on the internet and it said those purple pads were responding to cooler air temperatures. And sure enough, she put it in the ground and all of the new pads that came on it were just as green as our prickly pear. But now that the weather has turned a little cooler, guess what? They're turning purple. So it's a really neat variety of the prickly pear. And then the little lady finger down there on the lower right is a very pretty little plant, and it's a clumping plant, and it doesn't have real long spines, and that's beautiful little flowers. Who couldn't love who couldn't love a cactus, right? So there's a number of things we can do to help fight the drought, including plants that we would like to have in our yard. There are a number of ways to save water, and they all start with you and me. Anybody got some questions? I'm ready to share.
So far, we've had a couple of comments in the chat. One was that Lisa wrote that various figures, she's read about rocks and gravel mulch around homes that has reported to increase energy air conditioning costs by 30 to 50%.
Yes,
And Julia said that planting trees to shade the house will reduce the AC costs enormously.
that's right.
And then Julia also wrote, getting involved in our local contribution to the state water plan, the Texas Water Development Board is a great idea. She said we're in Region M, and the next meeting for them is in February, and the link is in chat.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I think it's something we should all consider. I want to thank everybody for listening to me. I tried to shorten it a bit because looking at my watch, I didn't want us to go over any more than we already had.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Enjoyed the program very much, and it's good to see you some more. And look forward to seeing you some more at future events. Um, and in case somebody's interested, the comments and the links that were posted in the chat room, what I found, rather than try and write all those down or even take a picture on my camera, is I highlight those, copy and paste them into a Word document that I can open and then minimize to get it back out of the way real quick. So that's a good way. And then I usually have a page of things like that that I put in my folder for that month's meetings. So that's a good way to clip and save all that information without having to copy everything down.
And
So
also, if you're on Facebook, I've copied all those links to the Facebook page for this video, and I sent out to the chapter mailing list Sylvia's copy of her slides and some other documents she wanted me to share with everybody.
that's great. Well, we sure thank you again, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
And with that, we'll go ahead and get started on our business meeting. Um, and I wanted to bring up to the almost the first of the stuff. We uh, have our treasurer's report, which was attached. And I know I saw Gail here earlier. Um, there's nothing unusual going on there. Most everything is usually always in our budget ahead of time that we plan for the year and present early in the year for our members. So unless somebody has some questions for Gail in relation to the report or anything else in relation to that, I would say we can file those reports for audit. I did make a note that it is time to start looking at paying your dues. You can pay them online and use a credit card there. You can go online, print out the form, complete it, and enclose a check and send it to our mailbox, which is also listed on the form if you'd rather do that. Um, the new operating handbook says we're required to pay dues by the end of January. Previously, it had been by the end of March, but they're wanting to encourage everybody to get dues paid in early. So the state says we should expect members to pay dues by the end of January. So we would encourage you to go ahead and tend to that. Any questions for Gail? Or Gail, you have comments?
No, I think it's pretty simple this month.
All right. Thank you. And again, thank Gail for the work she's done the last couple of years for us on those treasurers reports. The minutes of the last meeting were also included. There's nothing unusual there. Had been having good attendance as noted in the minutes. And if anybody has questions or concerns, um, and you don't notice it until later, you can always come back and email me or our secretary for any clarifications or maybe correct a misspelled name or something. Anything you might notice that needs correcting, we can do that. Otherwise, they'll be filed for review. Okay, and we're going to go into new business, and I would ask Robert Hernandez to take over. We're looking at election of officers, and he will present the slate and ask for nominations from the floor and such. So, Robert?
Hello, everybody. Okay, first of all, let me thank the committee comprised of River, Rivera, and Mayville, myself, of course. As I mentioned before, we did get together and came up with a list of names of people that we felt could handle some of these positions. We did make phone calls. We also sent out emails in case we wanted, maybe have some members that would step up, volunteer, let us know what skills they have, et cetera. Because a lot of people in the last 3 years, we know them via Zoom, but we have never talked to them in person. So we really can't get that feel of the people and what they would like to do as far as the organization. So this is what we came up with, and I want to thank those that we did call and did agree to the nomination that we had. Also, those that couldn't because of either they just can't handle it right now. They maybe have uh, uh, they're working, and perhaps though that prohibits them from doing some of the work or inhibits rather. So this, well, I'm going to start from the bottom with the treasurer. We nominated William Bill Rich. Is he here today? I don't see him on here. Okay. So we have, that's the person we're going to go with. Is there any at this point? We are taking nominations from the floor. And I'll give you a couple of seconds. Nope. Okay, there is none. Bill Rich is elected by acclamation. Next position we have is the secretary, and I want to thank Leslie Tuxhorn. Is she here?
Thought I saw her earlier. I don't see her
Yeah, I
now.
thought I saw her also
No,
as
she's
well,
not
but I
here.
don't see her. No. Okay. Is there any nominations from the floor at this point? I don't see any. So Leslie Tuxhorn is elected by acclamation as well. For second vice president, Jennifer Rictoric, I see her here. Thank you, Jennifer. Again, you have all our support unless we have a nomination from the floor at this point. I don't see any. So, Jennifer, you're elected by acclamation. First vice president, we have Joseph Connors, who is our president or has been for the last couple of years, our first vice, or last year anyway, first vice president. We could not find anybody to accept a nomination for that position. So Joseph, well, is there any nominations from the floor at this time? I don't see any. So Joseph, you are elected by acclamation. And then, of course, the last one and the final one, Donna Otto. I think this is your third year that you've already served.
Yes,
As
I've served 3 years. Yes, this will be
you have
starting
served
fourth.
3 years. It's okay. So again, we couldn't find a brave, let's say, uh, member to take on the president's duties at this point. And Donna has offered to again do this for us if we couldn't find one. So are there any nominations for this position at this point? There is none, so Donna Otto is elected by acclamation. And again, all those that have been elected, you have all our support. And I think that when we do this again, please understand that you will not be left alone. Those that are elected, we will be here to support you. Those of us that have been here a while already and know the ins and outs. So again, thanks to everybody.
You're sure welcome, and thank you. Because Robert remains immediate past president for as long as I'm being reelected as president. So he's kind of
Exactly.
stuck in that position too. But we appreciate all you do, Robert, and all you step up for in our organization. And thank you, everyone, for your support. And this has been a good team to work with. We really do
Absolutely.
back up each other. And so I have no qualms continuing in this position and hoping I lead you successfully. So one of the
And
other items of business,
may
yeah, go ahead, Robert.
yeah, may I add those you know that didn't accept nominations. I don't know if you're here or not. I can look at all the names right now, but we do have positions that you can help out with. You know, you cannot help with the board, but you can help in other positions such as the committees that we have, directors, etc. So just let us know, and we'll put you to work.
And it won't be too much work if a lot of us help. And we're going to need a lot of help volunteers with the state meeting coming this year or next year.
Absolutely. We don't know yet as far as how we're going
Right.
to be involved, but we'll find out. And I'm pretty sure there will be a
Oh,
lot of
yes,
workforce there.
there certainly will be. So we'll keep you posted on that. The next business we have is a chapter operating handbook. Um, we had met with the board, reviewed some of the information, basically decided not to make a lot of changes. And so in this latest chapter operating handbook that's supposed to take effect in 2023, all I did was go through and have it reflect what we're currently doing. They had rearranged things so things were in a little bit different order. They renumbered things or put them in a better numbering order. So basically, I can't think of any changes I made. The state added a few more committees we have the option to add. I left those in as an option to add if we want to. And otherwise, it pretty much reflects the way we've been doing business. We have two vice presidents instead of just one. We had a couple of people that were board members kind of at large, and those had to be identified as directors, but there's the same duties and everything. We just changed them from a board member to a director position so that they would fall under the new guidelines. Other than that, I sent that out. I think I was required to send it out 15 days ahead of time, and I probably sent it out a day or two before that for review. So at this time, I would entertain motion from the floor to accept the chapter operating handbook dated 2023. And are there questions or discussion?
Well, first, in terms of the motions, so moved.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay. If there are no questions or discussion, like I say, I tried to keep it to the barest minimum changes. They required a couple of additions, like the records retention policy, which they gave us a template for. The whole thing was a template uh, that I just customized to reflect what we do here. You know, we elect officers yearly for 12 months, and that type of thing. So there weren't really any changes to it. So with the motion to accept, do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, and Robert seconded. Um, I think if you approve, if you can click on your emoji or your reactions button and say a thumbs up, then we'll know you're approving it. And if you have any problems doing that, you can click to show your video and do a thumbs up in your view. All right. And Anita, did you have a question or comment? I see a thumbs up now.
No, I didn't know how to use those little things.
Well, you're learning now. Look at that. We've got a learning
I
curve
know.
going on here.
So, okay, I'm going to mute
Okay.
it.
And I might just ask if there's anybody that is opposed, could you unmute and speak up so we don't, we've got a full panel here and I don't want to miss seeing a thumbs down or anything. Um, so please, if you do oppose or have any other final questions, um, let us know. Okay. I see no no's. I hear no no's. So we'll consider that the chapter operating handbook for 2023 has been adopted at this meeting. And I have to send that information back to the state saying it was adopted. We do still have chapter bylaws that have to be adopted. The state had told us more than once that we need to give 15 days notice, but then somebody pointed out to him, and it wasn't me this time, that our current bylaws say we require 30 days notice to change the bylaws. And so by the time they decided that, it was too late for me to give 30 days notice for this meeting. So, and we don't have a December meeting, so we'll be voting on those in January, which again, there's no changes really, except what the state put in that we can change. So with that, we'll go on to committee reports. I wasn't sure if I'd seen Ronnie come in this evening. I don't see him, and I did not get any input from him on our membership. I do
I
know we
got
have
them.
one member transfer in. Oh, good, very good. Do you want to share that with us?
Okay, let's see. Share.
While he's getting that pulled up, we do have a member that transferred in, a Robin Ford Laughlin from Cross Timbers chapter. And so we welcome her.
Okay, I haven't looked at them, so I don't know anything about it, but I'll run through and we'll see what's in there. Okay, so October,
Okay.
116 hours of entry eligible members, 96 active members, 36 unique members logged, service hours or AT, 25 unique service opportunities, 35 unique members logged volunteer hours through 18 unique opportunities for 451 hours. 25 unique members logged AT hours for a total of 64. Our impact was 451 hours, which is a total impact of $12,892 at $28.54 an hour. Year to date, we're at $149,498 for 5,238 hours. And advanced training, we have 64.75 total approved advanced hours. I guess that's for the month. Outreach, 451.75 service hours with reach 281 adults and 254 youth. And here he's suggesting how we fill out that impact info. Sometimes you won't always have the info if it's a large thing, but you can ask the park and they may be able to give you some numbers you can fill in. And this is a summary. Most of our AT looks like it's going to chapter meetings and online webinars. Lots of volunteering at Benson. And then chapter business, which is where you can help us on the committees and things. We lots of entries there for people looking for volunteer hours. And that's it.
Okay, very good. Um, so that's all good. I do want to remind you if you're getting hours in towards the end of the year to go ahead and keep up with those. Don't wait till the middle of the month next year. They like to go ahead and get those counts and numbers in. So as you earn those volunteer hours, please be sure and post them. All right, and with that, I didn't see Ann here, but James Jerry is here. Would you like to talk a minute about the 2023 class?
Sure, I'll just give a quick update. The education committee met Monday the 14th, and went through, the things we need to do to have ourselves ready for the class to run. Of importance, River has agreed to coordinate the mentors this year. Thank you, River. Very kind of you to do that. And she's just sent out, I see, an email to people to see who would be interested. So River is going to run that end of things for us. Ronnie has put up a shared sheet with with the people he believes are signed up for the class. There are 12 names there. 3 of the 12 are from, sorry,
Brownsville.
yes, thank you. The V town, I couldn't think of it. Thanks, Joseph, Brownsville. So he's gone out to ask them if they really wanted to be in our class, knowing that there's a chapter down in Brownsville. So we'll see. There are 12, like I say, signed up at this point, so we have room for another 13 yet. I believe about 5 or 6 have paid at this point. Gail has sent me updates, and Gail, I appreciate that. And I sent out a welcome message to the people that I knew had signed up, and I'm getting good response to that, really. Some people are asking me, by the way, how do I pay? And one person today asked me, can you send me the link? So apparently it's very hard to see that red click here to pay link on the website, but it's fine. I send her the link and she'll take care of it, I'm sure. We have, I believe, 2 scholarship applications at this point. Obviously, we'll wait till um, registration closes before we review all those together. I think that's about it, Donna.
Okay, and registration closes, was it December 20th? Is that correct?
I think it was the 17th, actually.
17th. Okay. So those of you who may be listening in that are still interested in joining the class, you have until December 17th. Uh, the sooner the better, though. You never know when there's going to be a last minute rush. We will be having one other event coming up on the 10th where we'll be handing out more flyers, so there may be more interest generated from that activity.
Excellent.
And
Okay.
if you are considering joining, I've added the field trip schedule to the website recently, so you can check out, see how the field trips will work around your schedule, um, and hopefully we can make it work for you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And with that, River, do you have some awards and recognitions?
Yes, I do. Um, I have 3 recertifications. Lisa Adam, Seth Welliver, Wendy Williams. And there's a 100-hour milestone, Charles Prosel, and one 500-hour milestone, and that's John McKee.
All right. I think almost every one of those people is here tonight. So congratulations and thank you for your hard work. Um, Thank you so
Yes,
much.
and
And thank you.
no, thank you. Thank you, yes, for saying so. I'm gonna double check again and make sure I got everybody in since, we're not meeting December. I do know that there's 1 or 2 people that need 1 AT hour. If you can get that in, then we can recertify you. So take a look at your hours, and if you see I've left you off for some reason, oversight, too many numbers. Anyway, give me a text or an email, and let me know that I should look at your hours more closely. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
River, can you send me those on the chat, please?
Absolutely, I have it ready to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And with that, we'll go to the Communications Committee. Anita, would you like to tell everybody what you've been up to? And then Joseph can tell us about his adventures.
First of all, I have a question. And do you want me to go out with another media release for the new class registration? I think if I were to send it out, it should be sent out the end of this month, so it hits the news media the 1st of December. And one of the reasons that we can do that is the welcome home media for some of the winter Texan parks. They're starting to fill up earlier this year, it seems, than normal. So, Jim, do you want another media release to go out?
Yeah, I think we still have half the class, more than half to fill up. So I think let's do it.
I
Let's
agree.
do it.
Yeah,
All right.
Anita, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'll get it out. All right. So now just if you were on your email or the Facebook today, you've probably noticed that I had a new blog up, and I also posted the McAllen Monitor's third Saturday story. I've also sent a story for the newsletter for our northern sister newsletter, and I'd like to thank Jack Austin and Camille Rich, because they've put something in for the new Chachalaca that'll come out sometime in December. So I was really pleased that some of our chapter members are standing up to the plate for that. I think that for a joint newsletter, I like to see our contributions as well. And those are the only 2 that I know. There's others who may have submitted some stories without letting me know, and that's fine too. But so anyway, if you have, I'm grateful and congratulations. I think that's all I have.
Okay. How about Joseph?
Let's see. So I guess I'll first cover our website. Probably because of new classes opening, we've had a lot more traffic. We're up 57% last month for 558 total sessions. It says 373 unique visitors, which is up 46%. And our most visited page right now on the website is our native plants, native plant growers list, which Anita helped us put together. So if you're looking for places to shop for native plants, or somebody asks for one, check for that on our blog and send them the link.
I figured out that mystery, I think, that why that particular page, I had I tacked it onto the bottom of a story that I sent out somewhere. So that may have helped, but I do periodically like to mention that we do have that list on the website.
It's a good resource. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
And then while I'm here, I guess I can also walk people, just a reminder, if you haven't paid your dues in a while, go to the webpage, click the members, or hover over the members button, and down here, online payments and reimbursements. And here's membership dues, and I'll update that to say end of January.
All right. It makes it awfully easy when it's that handy. Well, appreciate it, Joseph. Thank you for all you've been doing and continue to do. Next is I don't see Kathy Ton on here. So I will mention what she likes to always mention is that's our annual meeting, and in case some of you have not gotten the word, our next TMN annual meeting will be October 12th through 15th at the McAllen Nature Center or the Convention Center. And are you going to play that little blurb for us? This was the announcement at our annual meeting in Houston.
Do you guys hear it? Do you hear the audio or no?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, well, I guess that doesn't work then. But if you haven't seen it, it's on Facebook, and now I was planning to put it on YouTube and I forgot, so I'll send out a link when I do that.
It could be that, yeah, I was going to say it could be it wasn't at the point where they were saying anything yet, but there was a very excited announcement at the annual meeting, so I wanted to share that enthusiasm with everybody. I thought it was great that they were looking forward to being here in South Texas, and it's the first time they've ever had an annual meeting here in South Texas. So advanced training, I did make a note. We currently have no director for that position. So if anybody's interested in a director position, we'd welcome your input or inquiries into that. I did want to mention, and Anita, you can concur. Tomorrow evening, right, is your Valley Nature Center presentation on Don't Kill It Till You Know What It Is. It's at 7:30, and I wasn't sure if you'd been able to get a link available yet, whether or not they'll be doing virtual.
They sent out the link for virtual to the Native Plant Project members only.
Okay, but we
As
can
far
see
as I
it
can
in
tell.
person.
You have to be there in person.
Okay, and that's just right around the corner from me, so I may have to wander out in the cold and wet to go see what I don't want to kill until I know what it is, and that may take some effort. Okay, so that's some AT and a live presentation, and we would encourage you to support our chapter member by attending her presentation. And then on December 13th is our next TMN Tuesday, and Kenneth Taylor is going to be presenting on leadership transitions during transitioning times. That also, I believe, is going to be our December chapter presidents meeting, is reviewing that with them. And then I know Susan's here. I think she was here unless she's run away. Susan Coleman, do you want to talk about volunteer service? projects? I've got several listed here.
The main one that I actually have drafted an email for, but I didn't get it sent out yet. Excuse me, is updating our speakers bureau. And I know that just the people present at this meeting include some excellent speakers who have given us some very, very good programs. And I would like for you guys to consider putting your name on our speakers bureau so that when McAllen Library and some of the other local organizations, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat, so that we can have an updated list on our website. And when we get requests for speakers, we have a ready list. We had a list that is somewhat outdated. Everything else, I think, has already been sent out and are discussed, except for the assembling notebooks. Donna, I didn't know you needed that.
Well, that's why I added it to the list. It wasn't anything real urgent because it'll have to be after the end of the time when we get all of our registered participants, so we know exactly how many books to make, and we have to have a printout of the list of new class members. So it'll be after, probably after Christmas time, between Christmas time and New Year's. So if you might be interested in maybe a couple hours of assembling notebooks for the new class, I was going to hit Javier up and see if we can't do that. He's kind enough over at the park to print up everything for us, but it'd be nice if we could just pick a date then and see about sitting over there and getting those all assembled and having them there for when they have the new class orientation. And
I can help with that.
yeah, and Hannah Marble had sent something about planting days. She said she indicated she'd be real flexible on the email she sent. She said she's very flexible, whatever schedule. So instead of saying I need a volunteer here and here for this, she's saying I need some volunteers help with planting. If you can help, call me and I'll work around your schedule. So she's and then we did have somebody during the chat session earlier say Benson State Park would like some more volunteers. I know uh, um, Anne and her husband are going to be gone all during the month of December, and they've helped out in the office and also on the tram. And Janny is here. Janny, you want to say hi to everybody and let them know a little bit more about volunteering over there?
Yes, and I'm going to send Susan an email with contact information. We definitely need more volunteers for our nature center and tram drivers if anybody else is interested. And I'm sure there's some other things coming up because they've gotten really busy with all the birders. So I'm going to send Susan an email tomorrow with all the information of who to contact so she can get it out because we really need some help. Thanks.
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
And I know I bring this up all the time, but that's because I'm over there all the time. Sea Turtle Inc. is actively seeking volunteers to help in the facility. It's not nesting season, but they still need help. And they're very flexible in terms of arranging the training, and you get to shadow someone around. It's actually quite fun. So if anyone, especially if you live at this end of the valley more and like to go to the island as much as I do, that is also another great volunteer opportunity and greatly appreciated. They treat their volunteers really well.
Okay. And I know Robert's still here. Robert had an invitation from St. George's Church to put up a TMN booth at their Greek festival, which is December 10th. So he'll be needing some volunteers to help there, and that's where we'll have another sign up and flyers for again for our class interest. And Robert, did you have anything to add to that? I'm not sure he did. He may have stepped away, but he's on the list there if you need to get hold of him. And with that, I'm going to wrap up with announcements. Did anybody have any other business that I didn't think to mention or totally went right out of my mind if it ever was in there to begin with? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead with announcements. We have our next board meeting. We decided to go ahead and have a planning retreat. We're scheduling that for Sunday, December 4th. And as information, that's when we'll be uh, be reviewing our accomplishments this year, setting goals for next year, um, doing our annual planning, the positions that people are transitioning out of, and the new people coming in. They'll get together and go over that, and we'll go over our new operating handbook to discuss the changes that the state has imposed there, and that type of thing. I don't have the location of that set yet, um, but it will be on a Sunday afternoon on the 4th. And so if any of you other members are interested in joining us, it is not a closed meeting. Our board meetings are open. We're going to try and have this one in person so we have more of the one-on-one. And uh, you can better understand our processes. And if you're interested in participating with a committee or in a group, this would be a good time to be introduced to our activities and what all we discuss. This evening is our last general meeting for the year. Our social that we often have in December, people were so busy, mainly a lot of our officers were going to be busy or out of town, so we decided to postpone our end of year um, event to a beginning of year event, and that's scheduled January 7th at Oleander Acres. Again, it'll probably be in the afternoon. We'll be sending out details. Um, we are going to keep it mostly social, although we're going to do a slideshow of some of our chapter activities, and we hope to encourage some of the people who submitted slides, or individuals like Susan can talk about Turtle Ink a little bit, so that some of these volunteer opportunities, the people who are actually volunteering can share their experiences with you. So that would enable us to count some advanced training hours because it's teaching you about volunteer opportunities and where you might work and the things you might do. So we're going to be able to count some advanced training time. Uh, we'll review the awards presented during 2022. Uh, we'll introduce those members that happen to come, and we'll have all the 22 awards on hand. If you weren't able to pick them up or they haven't been delivered to you, they'll be there January 7th, so you can pick them up there. We normally have a silent auction, but we didn't. Well, Anne usually really likes to be involved in that and wanted to do that, but she doesn't get back until January 6th, and we didn't think it was fair to put that on her shoulders when she was going to be gone the whole month of December and not even get back till the day before the event. So are looking at our silent auction at our April graduation event, which we've done before too. Um, so, and also at that meeting January 7th, we'll talk some more about the annual state meeting so that those who have never been to a state meeting will have a better idea of what's done at a state meeting and what some of our responsibilities might be. And other than that, we still plan on our general meeting January 16th, and our speaker will be Sister Mary Horsakowski. Any other comments, input? All right. I think that gives us 1 hour of our advanced training for the presentation by Sylvia. And
We're
actually,
almost right at 1 hour for business meeting too.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think we can go ahead and call it an hour. And like I say, I know there was some disruption in that other, but that works good for me because some of us have been here since 6. So thank you all for participating. Thanks for doing your voting and due diligence there. And thank you for those who offered to step up and take some more officer positions. It's really not that hard. and we welcome you, and we'll be missing the other ones. You're not off the hook yet because we know how to get hold of you. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Happy holidays.
And congratulations to the new officers and returning
Yes,
officers.
and thank you. All right. We will see you in January, if not sooner, at a volunteer opportunity. Thank you.